Good evening, Assalamu alaikum rahmatullahi wa barakatuh, and welcome to News in Focus. My name is Faraz Patel. We'd like to thank you, the viewer, for staying with us here on Hilaal TV, DSTV channel 347. We trust you had a fantastic Workers' Day. Of course, we are in the Islamic month of Dhul Qa'dah, and that means the Hajj season is slowly approaching us. And of course, from South Africa, an amount or a total of 2,500 Hujaaj will be making that beautiful trip to Makkah al-Mukarramah to perform their Hajj. But it's not just a case of traveling to Makkah al-Mukarramah. Of course, a lot of logistics needs to go through it. A lot of planning needs to go for it. And of course, one organization that makes sure that this is done in accordance not just of Sharia, but of course with the Ministry of Hajj in Saudi Arabia. And that's none other than the South African Hajj and Umrah Council. And joining me here in studio, I'd like to welcome its president, Moaaz Casoo. Moaaz, assalamu alaikum rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Always a pleasure having you on.
Walaikum assalam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh, Brother Faraz, and to the viewers of Hilaal TV. Alhamdulillah, it's an honor and pleasure to be here today once again to talk about the Hajj and logistics for the South African pilgrims.
Alhamdulillah. You know, Moaaz, I remember speaking to you off the air. It was, I think, COVID time. And, you know, the future was bleak. And of course, in 2022, it opened. Very few Hujaaj from South Africa, of course, made the trip. A lot of them said it was one of the most beautiful Hajj that I've made. And I'm sure every Hajj is beautiful to the respective person. But it's a good thing, isn't it, that from 2023, when everything had opened up completely, to now, there's always that feel-good Mubarak factor that comes to Hajj.
No, 100%. I mean, we can see it on social media. We can see it in our communities. You know, we get the various phone calls from people. We're seeing the footage coming from Saudi of our pilgrims arriving in the kingdom. We're seeing those that are departing at the airports, the joy, the happiness, the sadness, you know, the crying, leaving our loved ones and embarking on the journey of a lifetime. We've also seen now in Umrah, where millions are going, you know, and I mean, we can't believe the crowds that are going into the kingdom. You know, in the past, you had quiet periods during the year when people used to target those that don't have children to go for Umrah. Nowadays, there is no quiet period. It is busy throughout the year. You know, alhamdulillah. What we have seen of recent is the ministry imposing new rules, regulations pertaining to Hajj, where they're only going to allow pilgrims with a Hajj visa into the precinct of Makkah al-Mukarramah. And few days ago, we saw the footage where the Haram was empty. Completely empty on one Dhul Qa'dah, and only those with a Hajj visa were allowed to perform Umrah and make Tawaf. And that just shows the measures that they've put in place to prevent illegal pilgrims from the precinct of Makkah al-Mukarramah and Mina for the 5 days of Hajj.
So Moaaz, you're telling me that there are those who will try and get in with an illegal visa. So how does SAHUC, along with the Ministry of Hajj, make sure that the process of the Hajj visa, and we're going to obviously stick to the South African perspective, that's why we have you on here, that they have that Hajj visa? How does SAHUC facilitate that Hajj visa happening?
Okay, so at this point in time, we've got 3 accredited Hajj travel operators, all right? Each of them have got their own allocated quota based on the number of pilgrims that selected them to go for Hajj. We've got a record on a SAHUC portal. The Ministry of Hajj have their own Nusuk Masar portal, where all the information needs to be inputted onto both these portal systems. So first and foremost, SAHUC would accredit the pilgrim. The operator will get the details of the pilgrim, sign the necessary contracts, upload the contracts onto SAHUC's portal. Payments will be made into a joint bank account with SAHUC. Thereafter, as and when the ministry provided timelines by when fees need to be paid for these pilgrims, monies were transferred into the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia onto the Nusuk Masar system to secure your housing accommodation, your 5 days, your meals in the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia for Hajj, that is Mecca, Medina, Azizia, as well as the 5 days of Hajj. Now that process is completed. In order for a Hajj visa to be issued to any South African pilgrim that is accredited by SAHUC, firstly, we have to give the approval of the accreditation to the pilgrim. They will get an email, they will get an SMS. They then go onto the SAHUC portal, accept their acceptance. The operator then has this information. Only that pilgrim, the details can be uploaded onto the Nusuk Masar system of the ministry to confirm that that pilgrim has been accredited via SAHUC's process.
Moaaz, I want to stop you there because generally, when you speak to the old Hajis, they would have to go to the embassy of Saudi Arabia. So you're saying that this specific Hajj visa, it's done by SAHUC. All they have to do is do communication through to you, whether it's online or a phone call. If I stand to be corrected?
Correct. You have to register, and you can only register online via the SAHUC portal.
But the agencies doesn't do that for you. You have to do that yourself.
Do it yourself.
Right.
You can contact SAHUC, visit our offices, will help you. You can even go to a travel operator.
Sure.
They'll assist you on doing a registration. Waiting period is normally around 8 to 10 years. All right? But once SAHUC gives you the approval, our system, the detail that is input, has to sync with the Ministry of Hajj Nusuk Masar system in order for a Hajj visa to be processed. So the 2,500 pilgrims, visas that have been issued, once all the payments, transactions are completed on the ministry's portal. We do have cancellations, and that is the tricky part. When you have a cancellation, only the Saudi embassy in Pretoria can cancel an issued visa, not SAHUC, nor the travel operator. And only once it's cancelled on the Nusuk Masar system of the ministry by the ministry can you now then reissue another visa. So that is the process and the measures that they have in place to ensure that only 2,500 pilgrims go from South Africa for Hajj based on the quota allocation given to us. Now you get another visa, which is called a courtesy visa, or most people know it's called a Mujamila visa.
Yes.
These visas are issued to the Saudi embassy here based in Pretoria. It has nothing to do with SAHUC. We don't have any sight of those visas. Yes, we get information of who those pilgrims are once they are given the visas, because we need to know exactly how many South Africans are on Hajj in the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia and who they are in the event they pass away, in the event they are hospitalized. But in the initial process, when those visas do become available, we've got no jurisdiction on those visas. It does not impact our quota. It is not given to SAHUC. We have no foresight. We have no input into who gets those visas or not. The normal process is, in the past, people used to visit the Saudi embassy and they would request for courtesy Mujamila visas. Of recent years, there's a link that is issued from the Saudi embassy for those that want to apply, and you apply online. The challenge is the cost is exorbitant. So last year people were paying Mujamila visa.
Right, okay.
Just for the 5 days of Hajj, without accommodation, Mecca, Medina, Azizia, and your flights, you are looking at about 70 to 75,000 rand per person.
Yes.
So you would find your businessmen, your seasoned campaigners that were going on those Mujamila courtesy visas. Unfortunately, we don't have no jurisdiction. And you'll always hear in the public domain, how come so-and-so is going every year? This is the route that they are going through. At this point in time, it's the 2nd of May.
2nd of May, yes.
To date, no Mujamila visas have been issued.
But a lot can change, obviously,
A lot
from
can
now.
change. Yes, a lot can change.
Okay, Moaaz, I want to touch on quota. 2,500. It's contested everywhere. People come, they say, why 2,500? It's discussions that happen everywhere. It is what it is. How much of leeway does SAHUC have in asking the ministry to either increase, or obviously to ask to increase it? It's down to them, isn't it? Because it's not just a simple case of SAHUC saying, well, we can take more, but there's the Saudi ministry. They, the final decision maker, if I stand to be corrected. So talk to us about the quota and how we get to the number of 2,500.
Okay. So the quota is always a big issue. It causes havoc on social media year on year out. Sure. There's no doubt about it. For every million Muslims you have in your country, you get 1,000 quota allocation. Yeah. That is how it stands.
Yeah.
And the ministry uses the United Nations stats.
Okay. Yes.
All right. And that is provided to them by the South African government, not by SAHUC. We're not a government.
Yes. So Stats SA would communicate with United Nations, of course.
Yes.
Yeah.
All right. And that information is relayed onto the Saudi government, and that's how they base the quota allocation. One needs to understand, Hajj is completely different to Umrah. So a few minutes ago, we spoke about the masses that have gone for Umrah.
Yes. Yeah.
What Mecca can host, what Medina can host, they can host millions. When it comes to Hajj, Mecca and Medina can host the millions, but Mina and Arafat cannot host those amount of people. That's what people need to understand. At this point in time, there is a border between Mina, Arafat, Muzdalifah. Only certain amount of people can be housed in that precinct. Yes, many years ago, they had a lot more people in there. But one needs to understand they had building structures. You go 40, 50 years ago, that way in Mina. They've now gone into tents. We see now they're moving back into building structures, looking to accommodate more people. Back in the past, you had stampedes almost every year. So the ministry had to take security measures to prevent deaths, to prevent issues where people fall into stampedes and pass away. How do you do it? You now have to cut down on your quota allocation.
Yeah, Moaaz, I have to stop there. We have to go to the break. After the break, I continue my conversation with Moaaz Casoo from the South African Hujaaj and Umrah Council. To stay tuned. Welcome back to News in Focus. I'm still in conversation with Moaaz Casoo from SAHUC, of course, serves as its president. As we're talking off air before, when the break was on, the true numbers. Okay, so if you're taking 2,500 to 2.5 Muslims in South Africa, that number grows every day because, alhamdulillah, people take shahadat every day. So talk to us about that. Is this really a reflection of the true numbers? Because not many people participate in the census that we have in this country, which is annually.
For us, that's the biggest problem that we have as South African Muslims. We don't complete the census. The census is what is used by the government to determine the amount of Muslims you have in your country. All right? Based on the last two censuses that have been conducted by the South African government, we don't even go beyond 2 million Muslims in South Africa, based on what our Muslims have completed. Yes.
And they have to work according to census. Yes. So they're actually doing us a service rather than a disservice.
Exactly.
Yes, sure.
So the challenge that we're facing is, if you look at the official stats, we probably less than 1.5 million based on those who have completed the census. Sure. Yes, you're correct. Many people are taking shahadat. Many people are becoming Muslims. But we also need to understand foreign nationals are not part of the South African quota system. And that's a big difference we need to understand. The quota is based on South African citizens only. We are given, at this point in time, 1% of 2,500 for expats that are residing in South Africa, who are married to South African citizens, who have a South African ID and a permanent residency. These are not our rules. These are the rules from the Ministry of Hajj and Umrah. Sure. And we are one of 3 countries that only have this foreign national quota. Fairly soon they may take it away because 3 out of 100 countries is a very small percentage, you know, and we only allow 25 foreign nationals that can go each year. So that is a challenge that we're facing. We have spoken to census, to Stats SA to see what can we do. Can we get the ulama bodies to do a count? They said, look, it's got to be official by the government, you know, and people need to complete the census. So alhamdulillah, at this point in time, we have been given some extra quota by the ministry, all right? Both President Jacob Zuma and President Cyril Ramaphosa has engaged the Crown Prince on 2 occasions in the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia to request an additional quota. The ministry has indicated they are looking into it. The Saudi embassy in Pretoria has engaged the ministry. SAHUC has engaged the ministry. DIRCO are engaging the ministry on an ongoing basis. Inshallah, we are working towards getting a permanent quota increase rather than a haphazard here and there quota that comes to us every few years. For the last 2 years, we got no quota increase for South Africa. But we are working towards getting a permanent quota. We request for your du'as. We request for your support. When the census come up again, inshallah, the Muslim brothers and sisters must complete the census because it will benefit us. You know, we'll have to create awareness.
No, definitely. And I think the one good thing that works is South Africa and Saudi Arabia have had a strong relationship ever since we became a democratic country. Now, Moaaz, I need to ask you this because I get asked this question a lot by people. People have these arguments, the role of SAHUC. Obviously, my late grandparents, when they went in 1994, there was no SAHUC. I know a lot of people that have gone, family members that have gone, there was no SAHUC at the time. People say, okay, what is SAHUC's role? Do they really need a role within helping South African Hujaaj? Your counter-argument to that?
In 1995, the Ministry of Hajj and Umrah contacted then the Department of Foreign Affairs, who are now DIRCO, and said, we have a problem. There's too many South Africans that get cheated of their accommodation. Sure. They are laying on the streets, no housing, no accommodation, no bookings. People fall ill, they don't know where to go. People pass away, there's no one accountable, no one responsible for it. We need to put a Hajj mission together.
Sure.
And they've done this to other countries as well. It's not just South Africa.
Yes.
And it's not anything to do with you being a Muslim country or a non-Muslim country. It's for all countries. At that point in time, the ministry looked at a system so they can have one body accountable for your pilgrims in a foreign country. And it's to streamline the process, to make it easy. I mean, people that go for Umrah pass away and see how difficult it is to get assistance, get sick, and go and look for a private clinic or a private hospital and see how challenging it is for you. Yes, when everything goes smooth and well, alhamdulillah. But when you experience challenges and difficulties, then you understand why for Hajj, the ministry has put Hajj missions in the various countries to look after its pilgrims. It is very, very important. So at the time, the Department of Foreign Affairs, which is the South African government, called on all Islamic bodies in South Africa and political bodies. They met at the union buildings. And that is where the South African Hajj Umrah Council was formed.
Yes.
You know, and the ANC was part of it, the PAC was part of it, the National Party was part of it, to just create the body of SAHUC. The ulama bodies, the Muslim Judicial Council, Jamiatul Ulama of South Africa, they were all part of this inception of SAHUC, you know. And yes, initially there was challenges. There has to be challenges.
Of course,
because you are starting something new, you know. And what people need to understand is year on year, the ministry improves, SAHUC improves. Ministry come up with new rules and regulations, we have to adapt. You know, so we had our fair share of challenges over the years. But alhamdulillah, in the last few years, working together with the operators, working together with the pilgrims, working very strongly with both DIRCO as well as the Saudi Embassy and the Ministry of Hajj Umrah, we have streamlined the process. We have made it a lot easier for our pilgrims. And today, there's close to 90 countries that have Hajj missions like South Africa, and there are Muslim countries and there are non-Muslim countries, you know. And there are those who go on a Nusuk app. Those are, let's call it first world countries, like America, the USA, the UK. They have direct contact with the ministry. They book everything on Nusuk app and they do the Hajj on their own. Now we've heard some South Africans saying, maybe we should follow the Nusuk app. You know, you must always be careful what you ask for. And the reason why
it's not that simple,
it's not that simple. If you look at South Africa's culture, we look for spiritual guidance. We look for help. We look for assistance. We don't want to stay 2-3 streets away. We want to stay in the haram. You know, 5-star, 7-star, that's what we want. And we need that ulama to guide us and hold our hands. And whether you come from the poorest of poor families in South Africa, when it comes to Hajj, alhamdulillah, all the South Africans want the best. You don't blame them. It's your Hajj. It's a journey of a lifetime. So when you go on a Nusuk app and not through a Hajj mission, your accreditation process don't start in Muharram. It starts just before Ramadan. They have like a lotto system. Now we know in South Africa the difficulty a lot of Muslims face with online platforms, online systems. Can you imagine you tell the pilgrims, now you're going on a lotto system, go and apply online. No spiritual guidance. You pick your hotels. You've never been to the kingdom. All right? And we have many pilgrims who've never been to Mecca, let alone they've never left the country. Now they must go onto an app, no help, no support. You've got to start doing your own bookings. So look at those who are less fortunate and also look at those who have the facilities to do these bookings. So you've got to look at the masses in the country who struggle. So the ministry has looked at it and they said, we cannot move on to Nusuk for all countries because we understand the challenges third world countries will have on a Nusuk app. So you got to do bookings late, you got to have your money ready, you got to be available. Right now in South Africa, we give leeway for pilgrims to pay. You know, there is some 60 days from the time you get accredited to make your full payments. And there is still leeway given by the operators. When you go onto Nusuk platform, when you apply, they want payment, you got to pay immediately.
Well, I have to touch on this year. Of course, each year, SAHUC aims to make itself better, the Hujaaj themselves. It's a first experience for them. 2025, how's the preparedness going? Ahead of course, we've got about 4 weeks, or 3.5 weeks, if I stand to be corrected, before Hajj starts. How's SAHUC's preparedness? Are they ready? How's the team on the ground with regards to that?
Alhamdulillah, you know, we always tell the Hajjis, you got to leave everything in the hands of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. He is your host. He will take care of you. And the same goes for us. Believe me, we as SAHUC, as a mission, we are having challenges and we are being tested right now while I'm sitting by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala.
Definitely.
You know, and I told the mission guys, I told our head of mission, Abdi Ismail, after all difficulties, inshallah, come ease. You know, and we are experiencing difficulties. The public is not aware of it. The team are doing sterling work under the circumstances with the challenges that we are experiencing. But inshallah, ease will come, you know, and things will turn around for us. But from a pilgrim perspective, alhamdulillah, we've received the guests of Allah in Makkatul Mukarramah. There was about 66 that have arrived. They are now going to be departing after today, probably by tomorrow, to Madinatul Munawwara. The first pilgrims arrived in Medina yesterday from South Africa. So they are settling in. Alhamdulillah, everything seems to be going fine. There are some challenges, the first being the Nusuk card that the ministry has implemented. They are still being printed for South Africa, albeit the ministry has indicated the cards are available. It's not the case. But what the ministry has also indicated is people should use the Nusuk app on their phone, and they can use the digital Nusuk card as identification for now. We are working with the ministry and our service provider to ensure all our pilgrims receive the Nusuk cards in Medina, inshallah. All right, that's the first one. Second one, when everybody arrives in Medina, the first thing you want to do is your Rauda booking.
Yes.
At this point in time, just before I arrived here, alhamdulillah, on the Nusuk Masar system, the bookings have to be done by the Hajj mission for the Hajj mission workers. And for the pilgrims from South Africa, your travel operator will have to do the bookings for you online via the Nusuk system.
Sure.
For the mission, it is working. We've just tested it before we arrived. We haven't yet issued the first Rauda, but we've seen it on our system. The operators were having some challenges. They've raised the necessary ticket to the ministry. But we're hoping, inshallah, by the end of today or by tomorrow, everything should be sorted so that our pilgrims can then go to the operators and do their Rauda bookings. So that is in order. The last thing was a challenge on the SIM cards.
Okay.
We normally...
30 seconds, just to wrap that up.
We normally had Mobile.
Yeah.
We had some challenges with them. We're now moving to STC. Pilgrims, be aware, STC will be coming to your hotels, or you need to go to the kiosk to obtain your SIM card, activate it, pay them for whatever airtime, whatever data you need, inshallah.
Moaaz, always a pleasure having you on. I'm sure we'll be having you on again soon. Jazakallah so much. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Jazakallah. Shukran for the opportunity. We really appreciate it, and we look forward to being on Hilaal TV going forward.
Inshallah. Ameen. That's Moaaz Casoo, President of the South African Hajj and Umrah Council. After the break, of course, on Monday, the ICJ will be deliberating the United Arab Emirates' alleged involvement in the current Sudan civil war. I'm going to be speaking to Dr. Bashir Osman after the break.